You know what I don't get? Like, people are so excited about Christmas, right? And they get this tree and they decorate it, they put lights on it, but you killed the tree. You went out into nature where it was happy. You took an axe to it, and then you propped it up in your house and decorated it. And after 1 month, you're going to abandon it on the side of the street or set it up in flames. Is that the Christmas spirit?
Well, here's the thing, Luke. Many years ago, my husband and I, we lived in Casper, Wyoming, and we had some friends that had a beautiful ranch.
Okay.
And we decided to cut down a real tree.
Wow.
And it was snowing. It was a blizzard out, and it was probably, the wind chill was 20 degrees. And we found this beautiful tree that we thought was, on the mountain.
Thriving.
And we did the Hallmark moment. And when my husband cut it down, the tree was, obviously growing in the side of the mountain.
Right.
And so when he cut it down, we brought it home after we thawed it off because we were so freezing cold. We realized that it was this Charlie Brown, terrible, threaded tree that the back half of it was completely cut off.
He cut it down sideways.
Yes, and I was so humiliated and offended to have that in my house, I refused to decorate it.
It's like the tree's like leaning up against the wall, taking it out.
And I love to decorate things, but I would not do that.
Have you seen the tree in New York? It's really the epitome of a 2020 Christmas. This is like the cap of our year, this 2020 tree. It's going to be interesting to see what happens at New Year's.
That's
when
true.
they drop the ball, is it going to explode or I don't know.
That's true.
I don't want to think about it. Anyway.
Poiema Artistry is a nonprofit Christian-based performing arts company designed to educate and instruct those in theater, dance, music, visual arts, and technical theater production. Poiema is defined by a discipleship program of all ages that instructs those much like a mentorship program, focusing on all the expressions of the arts. That is Poiema. We're here to take you backstage. Welcome to Poiema Backstage. I am Angel Woodard, and this is Luke McIntyre.
What's up, guys? Before we go any further, please make sure that you hit the like button and make sure that you subscribe for more videos and updates.
Well, Luke, talk about your Thanksgiving. What was that like this week for you?
It was actually really good. So it was actually my first Thanksgiving with my wife. So that was really cool.
That's right. Luke has been married for 8 months now, so he is still a newlywed.
Yep, we're still at it. It's still working so far. So. I love you, by the way. She came down home with me to Fairmont, North Carolina. Don't look it up; you won't find it. And
it's a small place, obviously.
Yeah, it's like that. You've driven through it.
Okay, I've lived in little towns like that before.
And then we did a bonfire last night with some friends with social distancing. And probably
Maybe.
not. Yeah, probably not. but so what was your Christmas? What was your Thanksgiving like? Because I hear that you guys love decorating. And do you guys actually decorate for Thanksgiving?
We do. We actually start in October.
Wow.
And every year I always buy new decor. I get it on clearance at different places. And
you decorate early for Thanksgiving?
Yes. Harvest. It's not Thanksgiving, it's harvest.
Harvest. For all you individuals that skip Thanksgiving, first of all, you need to be ashamed of yourself because Thanksgiving needs to be appreciated and respected like any other holiday. Please take notes.
Absolutely. There are seasons to decorate. So we do start in October, and all the kids, all my boys, they help me. They love it.
Right.
And we have a lot of pumpkins and leaves.
Wow.
And on our TV every day, we have beautiful foliage coming down and soft classical music. And it's just very warm and hot apple cider. And
I didn't come do Thanksgiving with you guys.
And then the day of Thanksgiving, we obviously have a beautiful meal. We do a lot of cooking. And we go through each one of us and we talk about what we're thankful for each year.
Okay.
So we are raising 2 teenager boys and a younger son. And so sometimes you never quite know what they're going to say, but most of the time it's very heartwarming and it's a blessing. And so we always think about the thankfulness of God and what he's done. And that's one of the things my husband, this year, this has been a hard year for so many people with COVID in 2020. And one of the things that he said is that this is really a season of that we need to be so thankful, and the faithfulness of God was there. So we did have that. Once we were done with the sentimental love you Jesus moment, then we washed all that away and we have a beautiful Christmas display outdoors that we go to.
Give me a second with the whiplash. Like how soon after the meal did this happen?
Very quickly at 5:45.
What time did the meal end?
3:30. So we had a little bit of time.
All right.
We did Thanksgiving bingo. during that time.
Wow. Okay. Well,
So-
all right. I'll give you guys some props, but man, you just like watch things. I mean, the day wasn't even over. Like, has the sun gone down yet before you?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So then 5:45, we have the big shebang of the lights go on outdoors. They're all
Okay.
on a timer.
Cool.
And it's a lot of fun. And we are on the opposite side of the road and we critique them. And then we critique all of our neighbors who don't have their lights up yet. And, we get irritated
You
by
judge
that.
them.
Yes, we do. Yes. From
What's-
a scale from 1 to 10.
What's the lowest that you've?
1, of course.
Wow. Do you give them like citations or?
We just give them dirty looks.
Maybe I won't come visit you guys during the holidays. But it's really interesting because like this time of year, you see so much commercialism.
Right.
Why
And
do you
it
think that
seems
is?
like every year, if you go to the stores, the inventory is out the end of September, 1st of October.
Right.
And a lot of people are really, really put off by that. Other people are like, oh, it's exciting. Let's get into the holiday spirit.
Right.
But I think there's a difference of the spirit of Christ and the birth of Christ versus the spirit of Christmas.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, really try to substitute one for the other, and it really can't be done. And
Right.
that's the clash that you're talking about.
That's, it's really interesting that you say it that way because, as a believer, having Thanksgiving and being thankful and then going into the Christmas even, it's just like season is a nice transition. But,
Yes.
outside of that, it's like, you're thankful on, Thursday, the fourth Thursday of, November. But then,
right.
3 a.m. in the morning, all of that is gone and you want everything that you don't have. And it's really interesting because one of the things that you see capitalized in the media is family. Because even for individuals who don't necessarily have a revelation of who Jesus is or a relationship with God, there is this understanding of family, and family is in the heart of God. And so there's this sense of, when I'm out here at my job or with different individuals, I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm
Right.
trying to look my best at work. I'm doing my best to put on my best face. But when I'm at home with family, they've already seen everything there is to see. They've seen the good, they've seen the
Right.
bad. They remind me of the bad over and over. They pull out pictures for my wife to see that should have never seen the light of day to start with. And somehow it's okay because
Right.
it's family.
Right.
And so whether they see the good or the bad, it's, I'm confident in who I am around them.
Right. And I think a lot of people in our society, they really want to use Christmas as a filler. So many people who have lost loved ones in their lives,
Right.
this is obviously a very difficult time for them.
Sure.
So many people really dread the holidays. They fall into depression, and it's a lonely time for people. And so it's so much more for us to be able to share that with them. And, obviously gifts are a way that you can share that. I mean, it perks someone up. But the true meaning of Christmas really is the heart of Jesus, the new birth and what he gave to us, the new life.
Right.
And so I think so many times it's too religious. And then when it becomes religious, then it becomes very secular. And it's
Yeah.
like this gradual flow of godliness to religion to secularism. And so
It's so interesting that you say that because I think so many times, we can see, it's too secular. You'll hear that sometimes. But then like to hear it being too religious, I don't think I've heard it put quite that way before, but that is a real thing. I've witnessed that, and in a
Right.
way that in and of itself drains the joy of the season when you feel like you can't just enjoy the season, enjoy
Right.
people. It takes away that Thanksgiving that you just,
Right.
supposedly came out of.
Right.
But yeah, like those two things, like, just really it being in the heart of Jesus and being family. And I love both of those things together because honestly,
Right.
just as far as Poiema is concerned, that's really a foundation and a value that we hold close.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, you're talking about Christmas and family. It's really an element that if you don't have the two of them together, there really is something that is missing.
Right.
And one of the things, as you're talking about Poiema, one of the things I love about Poiema is that there really is the heart of family, brotherhood, sisterhood, discipleship. We're in this together. We're in
Right.
this for the good and the bad and the ups and the downs
Yeah.
that we walk through together.
One thing that really stood out to me about the way Poiema does things, when you have talented individuals, a lot of them go to different places that their talent is received. And I mean,
Right.
and talent is received anywhere. And to be honest, there are a lot of people in the body of Christ who they take their talent because maybe they don't feel like it's recognized in the body, and so they take it outside to the world where they feel like it's appreciated.
Appreciated, right.
But, inside of Poiema, and I'm sure that there are other places as well, when you show more, you put more value on that person, right? With their ups and their downs, and you're willing to walk with them,
right.
Then it becomes that's more of that family dynamic that we were talking about before. And so my talent isn't the thing that makes or break me, because I think that a lot of people put so much stock in their talent that if their talent's not up to par, there's an identity crisis almost.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it always goes back to identity. And the thing is like if your talent is not submitted to the Lord,
right.
then it truly becomes about you. Right. And not being the vessel that God has created you to be.
Right.
And so that's where really the dysfunction begins to happen. And really you begin to see that even with the breakdown of family. Yeah. If you don't understand your place as a son and a daughter, whether you're in the house of God or, even if you were raised in a foster care system and you were never shown what that was, there's something that's so missing and it's a void in that person. And then all of a sudden someone discovers a talent in them, but then because they don't have the foundation of the family element of that, right. then they're like, oh, you must like me because I can do these things and I qualify and I'm skilled in these areas. Right. But then there again, it leaves that sense of hopelessness in them because it's still not a true feeling of who they are.
Right.
Right. That's the beauty of discipleship and family.
Yeah, it's interesting too because there's this whole idea of like the starving artist, and there's this idea of you just got to make it like, I am not validated until my talent is recognized.
Right.
And that's in a lot of ways it's an unspoken thing that's accepted by the world, but it's also not spoken in the church. And so many people are frustrated because maybe they don't feel like they fit in somewhere. And that's why you have a lot of artistic people who are wandering, or this gift is left undiscovered and they don't know how to be a part, of a group or anything or submit their life to something, because really it is a question of identity and just laying their life into a foundation. And again, just like being in Poiema, I've seen that happen with so many different individuals. Like there are real conversations that happen behind closed doors. Right. There are real big brother, little brother, big sister, little sister, mom, dad moments that shape individuals.
Right.
And the evidence of it is seen later on in another performance.
Exactly.
5 years down the road when they're going with someone else.
Well, there's so many things that you learn when you're, when you submit your life, you realize that you're submitting your talent, you're submitting who you are, and it rolls over into other areas of your life. So if you're learning, how to do one character in this production, and you have people that are shaping you and that are critiquing you in a way that's not criticizing you, but it's building who you are. If you can take those things and then you understand who you are as a young person, a Christian or whatever, you can take those skills and be useful out into society, whether that's with your job or, in different areas, or mentoring other young people that you see that they're walking through the same walks of life of what you've gone through.
Absolutely. I like that you mentioned talking about, taking that into a performance. And, so about this time last year, we did a performance, The Great Day. And The Great Day is actually, if you remember on the first episode, we had Michael Green here.
Right.
And he is actually he came up with the show, he produced it. And it's really the story of these orphans who are looking for somewhere to be during Christmas, and they end up running into a father figure who is the epitome of Jesus. And what this individual does in their lives is so parallel to what Jesus did for us.
Right.
And so it's just an amazing performance. And I just remember, I was in the cast myself, and just seeing what it did, not only for other individuals, but for me as well. And then seeing the relationships that were formed along the way, what it did for other individuals who saw that performance, that latched onto something that maybe they'd never seen before. Right. They've seen art in the world, and they've seen the worship team. Maybe sometimes they've seen dancers up at the front, but seeing it on this level.
There was such a level of purity through it. It's not like it's one person trying to get in front of the other so their talent is seen or their voice is seen. It's like there was a true submission that everyone was in that together. And I remember I was there, watching some of the rehearsals, and I remember thinking, gosh, there's really a beautiful presence that is on even just during the rehearsal time.
Yeah.
Through that.
Yeah.
I actually had an opportunity to talk to some of the cast members and just kind of their takeaway of their experience. And many of them really said that, they really felt the brother-sister unity of one another, and it really built character and also confidence in each individual person.
Right.
And so I think that's a beautiful thing when you're really putting a production together where there's life in it. It's like, come see the experience of life that you can have while you're in this production, whether it's with Poiema or a different production that's centered around Christ. There's something that's, it's like when you do that, it's like you automatically have the favor of God on what you're doing.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing. And people who are watching that, the viewers that are out there, they see that and they recognize there is something different. It really truly sets them apart from society.
Just even being on the stage, obviously the lights are up and you can't exactly see everything that's going on with the audience. But, for instance, in this particular production, you do see the crucifixion scene. And in this crucifixion scene, you can just hear individuals in the audience weeping. There was the one point that I heard a child, like this kid, and I know the kid personally, this kid wasn't even 2 years old, saying no in the background. And it's just amazing to see how people communicate with this. And it's really interesting too in the aftermath of watching this production. So there was dancing, there was ballet, there was tap. It was great. And there was this little girl that actually, she's part of a local body.
Body.
Yeah, sorry, local church body. Thank you. And I've seen her every Sunday, and she's cute, cute little girl with her mom all the time. But after the production, I saw her watching a rehearsal where the girls were doing ballet, and she was just, she was like a deer in headlights just watching them. And so, I think a few days afterwards, I saw her go stand in front of two of the girls who had done the ballet. And she did this quick twirl in front of them, and she ran around the room and came back, and they were, just almost to be approved by them in a way of what she did.
I'm sure it was incredibly inspiring for her to be able to do that. I remember when I was a little girl and I would see these beautiful older ladies, or, they were maybe high school age, and I just was so inspired by them, and I always just wanted to be just like them.
Right.
So that's awesome. I want to talk about just your part that you played in the life of Jesus. When you were originally asked to play that character, what was your initial thought on that originally when you were asked that?
I don't know if I want to say, Angel. It's oh man. So the first time I was asked, it kind of caught me off guard because, I've always liked performing, and I've thought about doing something like maybe even for Easter. And I think sometimes, I think there's something about being a, performer where you're always judging yourself harshly, right? And for some reason I was thinking about doing a production with, Jesus and the disciples, but I could, for whatever, never see myself playing Jesus, maybe one of the disciples, maybe even Judas, because you see everything that's wrong with yourself. But then in a moment, it's like, okay, playing the role of Jesus, it's not just reading a script. It's like, okay, all of a sudden, yes, I've searched the scriptures before for the heart of God, but now it's like, okay, but I have to portray the heart of God. And then it's like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be doing that anyway, But you're doing it on a stage in a way. And I think there were so many aspects that hit me differently. Being on the stage, I didn't know how draining it could be. I remember in the crucifixion scene, holding my arms up. First, I mean, it was crazy. I'm not going to complain about holding my arm up for 8 minutes because it wasn't a real crucifixion with me, But being up there with the dancers and just afterwards talking about how draining that scene is because you feel the audience pulling on that. Right. You hear individuals weeping over the crucifixion scene, and I think that's probably one of the most draining things. And even after doing that performance, I just had to come down and be alone. And I just couldn't get it out of my mind what Jesus went through for us. Like the nails in the hand, I'm up here acting, but in a moment it becomes real. Right.
And I totally could see that. I think that when I've watched other, the movie The Chosen and different ones like that, or, you've seen the Son of God or whatever, you see different ones play the role of Jesus.
Right.
And you know, in that moment, it's more than just a role for them.
Right.
That they're really taking on the personality and the character of who Jesus is. And so I remember watching The Great Day and thinking of you, and realize it's like you're laying yourself up among the cross, over the cross. And so everything that you're doing, you're submitting that in that moment to the life of what Jesus did. And so so it's like every moment that you made, the groanings and the stonings and everything that happened to you, it almost becomes very real to you.
Right.
And the purpose of the cross, the dialogue of the cross, the salvation, and then you're representing that for all the people that are watching, but then you think through, gosh, Jesus, you did that for everyone. And you suffered an enormous amount of pain and suffering through that.
And even the rejection of people, like when people would, walk away or come over and throw you, and just feeling the rejection, like, man, Jesus took on all of that, and the physical pain, the emotional pain, it's amazing to, I don't know that I have words for, just like stepping into that role. It's definitely humbling and an honor, I could definitely say, to do that. So.
Is it something that you would do again if you were asked?
Oh, man.
Maybe at a different production.
I don't think it's so much a matter of like, oh man, I'd love to play Jesus, but it's like
you have to really check your heart and just right,
checking the heart and just knowing that you're going to be pulled on. I think about the woman with the issue of blood who, like Jesus said, he can feel the power go out from him. It's kind of what it feels like on the stage in a moment like that. Right. You feel people pulling on you, and so I would have to go into it knowing that that's going to happen, and that's not a decision to take lightly.
And I think too, at the end of a production, there's always the standing ovations and everyone's clapping and applauding. But for you, you're saying that you couldn't even receive that in that moment, that you had to have your takeaway, you had to have that time alone with the Lord, that you could just completely just lay that down.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard to be around. It was hard to be around people because you're trying to process. Because even though it was just a performance, it wasn't just a performance. Right. And you're having to, work through all of the emotions of what Jesus went through, what you just portrayed. And even though it was acting, it was real. Right. And so it's just getting alone with Jesus and pulling yourself back together, really. So we're going to take a quick break, take a look at this sneak peek, and we'll be back with you in just a few.
So Luke, as we're moving forward with Poiema, one of the things that we're doing as we're writing out the new scripts for the new productions, the viewer will always find a thread of family throughout each production. Right.
I think that's, when Michael is working on the script, and I actually had the opportunity to work with him in one of those, and I know that's one thing that he always wants to pinpoint and make sure that family and sonship specifically is something that's being there. And again, sonship just being, someone from a generation walking with somebody in the next generation, and shaping them in character and integrity.
Mentoring them, discipling.
Absolutely. And so I think to some degree, you'll always see that as a thread in the tapestry of whatever Poiema is creating.
I think that's awesome because even like for our cast members who stay with one production to the next, for those of them that are coming in from a secular perspective, to be able to see that and to hear that, there's a form of safety in that.
Oh yeah.
And once again, it really sets those apart from maybe ones that have really grown up like in the foster programs and things.
And you never have to question the integrity of what you're getting yourself into.
Right.
I think that's a safeguard for a lot of people who want to be in the arts but don't want to compromise their values.
Right.
And so with what Poiema is working on, I think that those involved that are a part of the performance and those that are watching are assured that what they're getting is going to be quality and it's going to be close to the heart of God and our hearts as well.
Right. So you talked about that you were able to write some of the script of the current production right now. How was that working with Michael, with the director, and just working together with creating the same value system for that?
Man, I think it's really interesting being creative, first of all, and working with another creative person. First of all, that's amazing. But I think it's interesting too, like the process of creating and erasing and, coming up with a script together. I think, there was one time in particular where I had come up with this script of these two characters and I came back to it later on and Michael had erased that. I was like, no, and so I think there's that aspect of it.
You can't have your identity in it.
Right. So there's but when you walk away from it, you can't argue with the finished product. It's just like, okay, as we're going on, it's like, okay, I see the angle you're coming from. You've pictured what I'm coming from, and they start to mesh together. And nothing that's close to either one of our hearts is compromised. It's because, again,
you have the same values.
Exactly.
Right.
And, it's really interesting too, because talking about values, like I wish people had the same values, during Black Friday that they had for Thanksgiving.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, people are so ungrateful. It's like you were just thankful for all your blessings and everything the Lord's done for you. And then 3 a.m. you're yelling at people and running people over to get to.
Well, Black Friday has changed. It's not as aggressive of what it used to be. I am a faithful shopper.
Okay.
Of Black Friday.
Just Brown Thursday.
I do the clipboards, the clothing. I have all of my list of all of my family members of what they want.
You dress up for Black Friday?
Yeah. I have my coupons for each store. Then I have all of my ads. And I highlight and write on my paper what page it was and how much it was for. Wow. And I compare shop.
You are one of a kind. What is this outfit that you have for Black Friday?
Oh, it's black and red and
okay. I just pictured all black, like very militant, like.
Not quite.
Okay.
But I have like the lap bag, and I've got my credit card. I'm ready to go.
Do you guys still have shopping to do?
We always have shopping to do.
Right. Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and cut this episode short so I can get to the store before Angel does. We'll catch you guys next time.